Health officials in Rockland County have declared a state of emergency to deal with a measles outbreak.
This is a public health crisis, and it is time to sound the alarm and take the appropriate action.
Anyone under 18 years of age who has not received the MMR vaccine against the disease will be barred from entering public spaces for 30 days or until they receive the vaccination. 153 cases of the highly contagious virus have been reported in Rockland County since October, mostly in an Orthodox Jewish community. New York State currently allows religious exemptions for the measles vaccine.
I think something needs to be done, but just to say, we got to ban everybody and underage and things like that, I don't see that doing more good than hurting.
If it's going to cause an epidemic, you have to follow the rules.
It's unclear how the temporary declaration will be enforced. Officials say violating it could mean a $500 fine and 6 months in jail.
There will not be law enforcement or deputy sheriffs asking for your vaccination records. That is ridiculous. However, if you are found to be in violation of this declaration, your case will be referred to the district attorney's office.
This year, the CDC has reported 314 measles cases in 15 states. Symptoms include a fever, cough, runny nose, rash, or even deafness or death. Health officials stress the vaccine is highly effective and offers 99% immunity against the disease.
The objectives we will be talking about is introducing what chickenpox is, how is chickenpox spread and incubated, what population tends to get chickenpox, what are the signs and symptoms of chickenpox, what are the prevention methods to getting chickenpox, what does the government and or nonprofits do to control chickenpox. We will be doing the same with measles, comparing how the two are the same and contrasting how the two are different. What is chickenpox? Chickenpox is an infectious disease that is caused by varicella zoster virus. The incubation period for chickenpox after exposure to the virus is 14 to 16 days. Chickenpox causes an itchy, blister-like rash. It appears first on the chest, then the back and face, and it eventually spreads to the rest of the body. Chickenpox could cause around 250 to 500 blisters. How does one get chickenpox? One gets chickenpox from breathing in particles from the fluid in a chickenpox blister or touching a contaminated surface. Someone can only get chickenpox if they have never had it from someone who has had chickenpox or shingles. How does chickenpox spread? Chickenpox is highly contagious. It is easily spread from someone that has chickenpox or shingles to someone who has never had chickenpox or never been vaccinated. Chickenpox is spread through saliva, skin-to-skin contact, airborne respiratory droplets, touching a contaminated surface, and mother to baby during pregnancy, labor, or nursing. A person is contagious starting 1 to 2 days before the rash appears and up until all the blisters have scabbed. Chickenpox is no longer considered contagious once it's been 24 hours since a new lesion has appeared. Demographics of chickenpox. Chickenpox mostly affects young children. 90% of chickenpox cases are children. The people most likely to get chickenpox are those that have never been infected before and that have not yet received the chickenpox vaccine. What are signs and symptoms of chickenpox? These include fever, loss of appetite, tiredness, headache. Rashes will start to turn itchy and into pus-filled blisters. Rashes normally begin on the chest and then spread over the whole body. Some prevention methods include getting the 2 series of vaccines, staying away from anyone showing the signs and symptoms of chickenpox. Do not host chickenpox parties. In the past, some parents participated in chickenpox parties to intentionally expose their unvaccinated children to a child with chickenpox in hopes that they would get the disease. The CDC strongly recommends against hosting or participating in these events. Some other prevention methods include washing your hands thoroughly, keeping your hands away from the face or any open sores. The chickenpox vaccine. What is the chickenpox vaccine? The chickenpox vaccine is a shot that can protect nearly anyone who receives the vaccine from catching chickenpox. It's also called the varicella vaccine because chickenpox is caused by the varicella zoster virus. The vaccine is made from a live but weakened or attenuated virus.
Some government and nonprofit interventions with chickenpox include receiving the vaccinations. The Center for Disease Control has an approved vaccine and pushes for children 12 to 23 months to get the first vaccination. After that, the second dose is administered between the ages of 4 to 6. The National Foundation of Infectious Disease is also an intervention method. The organization pushes for those all ages who have not been vaccinated to get vaccinated. They have the Advisory Committee on Immunization Practices, which is able to provide advice and evidence that will lead to the incidence of vaccine-preventable diseases in the United States and the increase in the safe use of vaccine and related biological products. Some social, political, and economic factors relating to chickenpox include anti-vaxxers and access to care. Anti-vaxxers are people who are now against vaccinating their children because they believe the ingredients could be harmful to their children. So many children are being exposed to chickenpox, and the vaccination lowers their risk of getting chickenpox. Access to care refers to people who are lower income and may not have health care. Many believe because of this they aren't able to get their kids vaccinated. About 7% of uninsured children in this group were not vaccinated in 2017, compared with 0.8% of privately insured children and 1% of those covered by Medicaid. But uninsured and Medicaid-insured children are eligible for free immunizations under the federally funded Vaccines for Children program. What is measles? Measles is an infectious and highly contagious respiratory disease caused by the measles virus. The disease occurs in the lungs and breathing tubes. You can catch measles just by being in a room where a person with measles has been, up to 2 hours after that person is gone. And you can catch measles from an infected person even before they have a measles rash. Almost everyone who has not had the MMR shot will get measles if they are exposed to the measles virus. From year to year, measles cases can range from roughly less than 100 to a couple hundred. This is called the background rate. Worldwide, about 20 million people get measles each year. Now let's move on to how measles is spread. Measles is a highly contagious virus that lives in the nose and throat mucus of an infected person. It can spread to others through coughing and sneezing. Measles virus can live for up to 2 hours in an airspace where the infected person coughed or sneezed. If other people breathe the contaminated air, touch the infected surface, then touch their eyes, nose, or mouths, they can become infected. Measles is so contagious that if one person has it, up to 90% of the people close to that person who are not immune will also become infected. Infected people can spread measles to others from 4 days before through 4 days after the rash appears. Measles is a disease of humans. Measles virus is not spread by any other species. Moving on to demographics, we can see that children are the population that tend to get measles. Measles is still common in developing countries like parts of Africa and parts of Asia. Approximately 110,000 people died from measles in 2017, mostly children under the age of 5 years. Measles outbreaks could be particularly deadly in countries experiencing or recovering from a natural disaster or conflict. Unvaccinated children are even more at risk. Damage to health infrastructure and health services interrupts routine immunization, and overcrowding in residential camps greatly increases the risk of infection. Severe measles is more likely among poorly nourished young children, especially those with insufficient vitamin A or whose immune systems have been weakened by HIV/AIDS or other diseases. Initial symptoms include fever for about 4 days, greater than 104 degrees Fahrenheit, a cough, runny nose, conjunctivitis, which is red and inflamed eyes, Koplik spots, which are tiny white spots on the inside of the cheek or tongue, and a rash. Some may have diarrhea and ear infection. 3 to 5 days after symptoms begin, a rash that looks like flat red spots breaks out from the top of the head and progresses down. The best way to prevent contracting the measles is to get the MMR vaccine, which protects against measles, mumps, and rubella. CDC recommends children get 2 doses of the MMR vaccine, starting the first dose at 12 through 15 months of age and the second dose at 4 through 6 years of age. Teens and adults should also be up to date on their MMR vaccination. 2 doses of MMR vaccines are about 97% effective at preventing measles. 1 dose is about 93% effective. The best way to keep you and your community safe is to have both vaccines. Government and nonprofit intervention with measles includes the vaccinations that we talked about before, the MMRV vaccine, and state and city requirements. Many states have measles intervention centers. State law requires certain zip codes and cities to have the vaccine. Most children must be vaccinated in order to go to school, and parents may be fined up to $1,000 if their children are not vaccinated. There are many factors that relate to the spread of measles. Two outstanding ones are anti-vaxxers and political instability. Anti-vaxxers are people who believe that vaccinating their children will result in their children acquiring diseases such as autism or their brain development in general. While there have been many studies that have debunked this theory, people still believe it's true. When anti-vaxxers don't immunize their children, they add the risk of the spread of measles to people who are immunocompromised, older, or even have already had the vaccine. There is a concept called herd immunity, which states that if a community reaches a certain threshold for the amount of vaccinations people have, the vaccine will protect the community from having an outbreak of the disease. Anti-vaxxers ruin this concept and put people in danger. Political instability also plays a role in measles outbreaks. In many developing countries, there is little to no surveillance on diseases that occur. With this lack of knowledge of what diseases are present, communicable diseases like measles can spread very quick. This also poses a threat to the rest of the world because of people traveling to those countries and bringing the viruses back and spreading it to their families and throughout a community. Measles and chickenpox are similar because there is a vaccine for both. The best prevention is getting the vaccines. They both can be spread through airborne particles. They both result in rashes. They're viral infections, and they're highly contagious through coughing, sneezing, and eye secretions from an infected person. Chickenpox and measles are different in multiple ways. They come from different viruses. Chickenpox being the varicella-zoster virus, which is a double-stranded DNA virus. Measles is from the paramyxovirus, which is a single-stranded RNA virus. Both result in rashes, though the chickenpox virus is more blister-like and filled with pus, and the measles result in a blotchy red rash. Many of the first symptoms are similar, but in order to tell if someone has measles or not, you may look for tiny white spots inside their mouth, which are called Koplik spots. Measles is also characterized by the 3 C's, which are coughing, conjunctivitis or eye inflammation, and coryza, or the inflammation of the nose. In conclusion, these two diseases might look similar, but they are very different. Chickenpox will start on the chest, where measles will spread out evenly from the head. The main difference is that chickenpox will make one feel tired and fatigued with a loss of appetite and will last anywhere between 7 to 10 days, whereas measles will affect the eyes and nose and last 10 to 12 days. The best way to prevent the spread of measles and chickenpox is to make sure people are vaccinated and aware of the risks of these diseases.